All right, everyone. Last night there was a big rigmarole on Twitter. Now, the main mention for people, Baked Alaska was actually trending for an hour. He got banned from Twitter. But a bunch of other users also got unverified around the same time. James Alsup, Tommy Robinson, Purposeful Wife. Their links are in the description. Now, I'm not going to link to Baked Alaska, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't believe in censorship. I don't believe in banning someone because they're offensive, banning someone because they exchanged hot words with another user. You know, most of the users on Twitter are adults, so it's time to fucking grow up. If you expect tech firms to impart morality on the user base, my goodness, you are lost. 10 years ago, any self-proclaimed liberal would never have been arguing such a thing. They would have been saying, oh, Zuckerberg and all of these things, they're agents of the U.S. government. They're part of the New World Order conspiracy. The zeitgeist has come. They're trying to bomb all the third worlders, and we must speak out against it. Now, if they could, they would crack down on people encouraging, like, gay rights. That's correct. Because, they just want something to censor. They want to, want to get a big ego, basically. If you're looking to the tech firms to ban offensive speech, wow, I'm so triggered, you're not a liberal. You're just an authoritarian. It has nothing to do with economics. It has nothing to do with progress versus regress. It has nothing to do with it. It just has to do with telling a tech firm, hey, we want you to police the user base more. We want you to make sure that certain groups of people just can't speak. Because fuck liberty, fuck the First Amendment. Doesn't sound classically liberal to me. It sounds like neoliberalism / neocon rhetoric. These people encouraging this and taking great happiness in the fact that somebody who's, Baked Alaska, he's certainly on the right, as opposed to maybe someone like me, who's, I would be a classical liberal for many purposes. He's certainly on that right. The people that are cheering that on, because, it's a great day for the left, haha, that evil troll is gone, he's all right, haha. Well, you wouldn't have been saying that 10 years ago. 10 years, you actually sound like all the Bushites that I sparred with at the time. Which is really, it's really concerning to me how easily manipulated you are, how easily taken in by propaganda you are. Some news group that, again, you would never have trusted back then, tells you that Russia's responsible for something. You just put it in your head without even thinking, like you totally passively absorb it. I can remember when the liberals' favorite news outlet was RT. Now they say, well, that's an evil propaganda arm of evil Vladimir Putin, who also somehow rules over every Nazi in the Western world. The non-existent army of Nazis. So I'll say this. I'm not a fan of Baked Alaska. I don't really like Baked Alaska. I've watched some of his material. It just rubs me the wrong way. It doesn't entertain me. So why bother? He shouldn't be banned, though, for the fact that he's, out there. I haven't seen him proclaiming violence against his ideological opponents, but I've seen plenty of people on Twitter do that and escape all repercussions. People on Twitter do horrible things to one. It's not, you gotta lay off of the thinking that it's just, well, if they're left-leaning, then they get away with it. Only if they're on the right do they get banned or unverified or something. That's not necessarily true. It's a case of sporadic, selective, and shitty enforcement of overbearing TOS by a site that doesn't have the manpower to properly run its appeal system where it's even present at all. YouTube has this problem. You've got people like Neistat, case in point, Casey Neistat. Casey Neistat was a Clintonian. He is not a right-winger in any way, shape, or form. He's having to fucking lead the charge against the second adpocalypse on YouTube because he's like, hey, can at least larger users, above some arbitrary threshold, get an automatic human review? The reason why YouTube hasn't installed that is they don't have the manpower to do so. These sites are trying to overextend. Because of the moral panic being the way that it is right now, here's the problem. More and more classes of types of speech and expression are being considered more and more offensive and more evidence of ma Russia, ma Adolf Hitler, ma treason, something else under the sun. These tech firms are ad reliant. They need ad revenue to function. The ad companies keep going along with that moral panic. They keep giving in to all of the mindless hordes of easily triggered morons. And they say, okay, we'll pull our ads until the tech firm does this. We'll pull our ads until the TV channel does that. We'll pull our ads from this radio station until this announcer is fired. They keep doing this over and over, so these tech firms are fucking terrified because that's their main form of income. They have to work with these other businesses to get ads, and they're already on the ropes trying to do that, by the way. The ad-driven internet was already having problems because groups are realizing that if you take out $10,000 of ads, you're getting $5,000 back. So unless it's a short-term campaign just to increase awareness that your product exists so that social media can take hold, because that, of course, is free. It's free to have a YouTube channel. It's free to have just a Facebook page. Unless it's short term and it's just driving people to the free content that you're making, there's no fucking economic point to it whatsoever. It doesn't make sense. I ran a few ad campaigns just as an experiment a while ago. I ran some ad campaigns for some of my books. I got back less than half of the amount that I spent on the ads. And they weren't poorly designed ads. I know the rudiments of that sort of thing because I've been self-advertising my material for quite some time. I know how to design a fucking banner ad. It's not that difficult. You're never going to get back as much as you put in. It's never going to happen. People run ad campaigns so that people become aware of the product, and then they go out and they interact with the content that doesn't cost that same firm anything to have. It doesn't cost them anything to have their Blogspot page. It doesn't cost them anything to have their brand Facebook, or for one of their employees to have a Twitter, or to have a Yelp page or something. That doesn't cost them shit. Why the hell would they want an ad campaign? So that was already a problem. Now you've got the moral panic, though, leaking it out faster. They're leeching all of the productivity away from the tech firms, and they're powerless to stop it. The only way they can stop it is if they get together and they say, okay, we're simply going to stop responding to these people because we can't police everything. If we tried to ban and unverify and block and algorithmically demote and shadow ban and everything else, all of the content that these people are offended by, all of the people that offend them, we would have no actual users anymore. There would be no one, even leftists would get banned. Adpocalypse has totally torched political commentators on YouTube. Left, right, center, doesn't matter. They can be pro-liberty, they can be a national socialist, they can be a communist. Doesn't make a difference. They've been demonetized largely. They're making peanuts now compared to what they used to make. And it's affected people that don't do political commentary. When we look at Twitter, we're finding that people who don't even really delve into these issues, PewDiePie with the Wall Street Journal, the case in point for YouTube, this is happening as well now on Twitter. People who don't do anything edgy are getting targeted. Somebody decides they don't like them. Somebody baits them into swearing too many times. Somebody baits them into a debate and they say, well, you know, fuck yourself. All of a sudden they end up unverified. Well, sucks to be them. Sucks to be them, doesn't it? That blue check. And by the way, these people who got unverified, like Purposeful Wife and Alsup, fuck the blue check mark. It's not going to help you. You think that your comments magically get a boost because you have a blue check mark next to your name? Now, Twitter picks and chooses who is at the top of each comment thread if it's any importance anyway. Something begins trending, they don't like it, they just get rid of it. You know, out of sight, out of mind. They just hide it so it stops trending. Virtually everything on Twitter is explicitly manipulated. That's because it's becoming a propaganda outlet. It's becoming a way to drive public consciousness. When you have a large website with a huge number of users, it becomes very easy for governments or for the corporation itself, or some other group, some NGO, to begin trying to design really public consciousness. It allows them to drive people in directions they want them to go. This happens all the time, and Facebook certainly does it. Facebook even openly alludes to the fact that they've employed that very strategy now for any so-called news firm that doesn't pay up. They're going to get demoted in Sri Lanka and Cambodia and some of these states, and they swear up and down that they're only doing it there. Well, then why test it there if you don't intend to export it elsewhere if it accomplishes the goals that you wish to accomplish, which you're not forthcoming about? I can tell you what the goals are. It's to get more money. Hey, we can, these corporate firms, some of their competitors will pay to have a presence in people's actual feed, except, other than just the news page. Well, then the smaller firms, you either pay up or you get demoted and you get wiped out on our site, so fuck you. It's a way to extract money. It's literally blackmail on these groups. It's an attempt to grab up money, to force them to pay. It's almost a mafioso tactic. Unfortunately, one that's perfectly legal at this time. What we need to do as quickly as possible is attempt to institute constitutional protection more explicitly to the internet. I'm becoming more receptive to the idea of declaring some of these large and almost monopolistic sites to be public works. In the sense that something like electricity would be a public work. That is, there would be independence and capitalism associated with it, as far as capitalism exists online anymore. People keep trying to tax every service and good there too. But at the same time, you wouldn't simply be able to ban somebody from your site. Unless they're doing something specifically criminal or pornographic in nature, you should leave them alone. And by putting them in as public works, these U.S. firms will make more money because they won't have to police all of that no longer illegal content. Someone's offensive? Fucking suck it up. Who cares if they're being offensive? They're saying mean things. Look, is it criminal? Are they advocating violence? No. Who cares? Are they specifically harassing you, threatening violence to you? No. Who cares? It's none of your concern. If you don't like it, turn it off. I can remember when the basic anthem of liberals, back in the period when all of the Bushites were browbeating them, saying, oh, this gay stuff is offensive. You don't want the manger, and for you to even suggest that is like it's evil against Jesus. The basic idea, when they got pissed off at music, when they got pissed off at a movie, they considered something indecent, offensive. It was basically, hey, you don't like it? Screw you. Shut it off and go elsewhere. If you don't like the fact that our Christmas display doesn't have Jesus in it, shop elsewhere. We don't care about you. If you're so offended, fucking leave. If you don't like the song you're hearing on the radio, switch it to a different channel. Vote with your feet, essentially. Leave other people alone. That's exactly the mentality that we need online. Now, I see plenty of people on the right saying this, and here is the weird thing. Most of the people with that mentality of, hey, we could just, leave each other alone and say what we want as long as there's no crime. That used to be what the left said 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Now, I don't hear many people on the left saying that anymore. No, I hear only people on the right saying so. It's because of the paradigm shift. And this is going to go on for some time, thankfully. At some point, you can't have more moral outrage than you already have. I would hazard a guess, when things like this are happening on a near daily basis, Hollywood's falling apart, Twitter is more and more openly abusing its own user base, you've got the adpocalypse, Zuckerberg is basically a synth. When the entire tech world and the entire entertainment industry and the legacy media and the new media are all embroiled in all this bullshit together and basically ripping one another apart, I would hazard a guess you can't really get more chaotic than that. In the last year, we have seen our culture begin to devolve down the toilet as we go through this paradigm shift. It's about as bad as I expected it would get. So if it gets significantly worse, I'll be slightly surprised. But again, links in the description to 3 of these channels. A YouTube page for Purposeful Wife has some good content there. For Alsup as well, I spoke with him. He's part of that round table when we were all part of that hit piece by Right Wing Watch. Tommy Robinson, his Twitter handle, because I don't know his YouTube page. I won't link Baked Alaska because I don't support his work, but I also don't support him being censored. I think his account should be restored. Like, if you want to unverify someone, it's like, who cares? At the end of the day, who cares? A fucking blue check mark. Banning someone from your site when they have a significant presence there for just being, oh, well, this person was, pissing off other users by their presence. Who cares? Who cares if he's trolling? Was he doing something illegal? No? Then leave him alone. Let him use your platform. Look, if you don't like him, if you don't like somebody, you should want him to speak freely. Because if you don't like them, you probably think, well, their arguments are weaker than mine. Their points are weaker than mine. They've got a weird worldview. Okay, well, then let them expose the weirdness to the world so you can refute it. Only some of these people, they're too intellectually lazy to even have a debate. They just want to shut others up. You sound exactly like the Bushite evangelocons circa maybe like 2003, 2004. You sound exactly like Bill O'Reilly did when the Iraq War began. And it's starting to piss a lot of us off because we used to be on the left. It's more our natural home, but you can't be part of the left. The left, all it wants to do is censor and start wars at this point, so screw off. That's about all. Peace out.